It's definitely therapeutic for the soul. That is the amazing thing about Trinidad. Like, nothing is too far. You have a bit of everything right at your fingertips.
Being Trini means belonging to this place that is just unlike any other place.
To be a Trini is to be African, Indian, Chinese, Syrian, Lebanese. Is the diversity of the people.
Serenity and peace also exists and coexists with vibrance.
I can definitely say safely that there's no other life worth living than a Trini life.
Welcome to a Caribbean gem that's as fascinating as it is beautiful. Get ready to explore 21 mind-blowing facts about this extraordinary island, some of which will totally surprise you. This is Trinidad and Tobago, a small nation with big stories, real people, and a deep culture that continues to shape the Caribbean today. Fact number 1, the only twin island nation in the Caribbean. Trinidad and Tobago are the Caribbean's only true twin island nation, and each island has its own personality. Trinidad is the larger one, the center of business, government, and industry. Tobago is smaller, more relaxed, and known for its beaches and resorts. Together they form a single country that balances work and leisure in a way few nations can. While Trinidad is known for its busy capital, Port of Spain, filled with offices, factories, and daily movement, Tobago is a quieter escape for both locals and visitors who want to slow down. The two islands are connected by ferry and short flights, making travel between them easy. Their different rhythms have created a national identity that combines energy and calm, modern life and nature. The setup works well. Trinidad drives the economy while Tobago keeps the country connected to tourism and the environment. This combination makes Trinidad and Tobago one of the most unique island nations in the Caribbean, where two very different places share one flag and one future. Fact number 2, a mix of races, cultures, and traditions. One of the first things anyone notices about Trinidad and Tobago is how diverse the people are. This small country is home to people of African, Indian, European, Chinese, and Middle Eastern descent, all on the same street. You'll hear a mix of accents and see festivals from different cultures celebrated side by side. The descendants of African slaves and Indian indentured laborers make up the majority of the population, and their shared history has shaped much of the country's music, food, and identity. The mix also includes smaller communities of Chinese, Portuguese, and Syrian heritage who have added to the country's business and culinary life. What stands out most is how naturally people live together here. There's no perfect harmony, like anywhere in the world, but there is clear respect for cultural differences. Trinidad and Tobago's diversity isn't something you just read about, you see it everywhere, from the street food stalls to the national holidays. Fact number 3, birthplace of the steelpan. Trinidad and Tobago gave the world one of its most original musical instruments, the steelpan. It was created in the early 20th century from oil drums, and it's the only acoustic instrument invented in modern times. It came out of the creativity of ordinary people, many from poor communities, who wanted to make music even when traditional drums were banned. They discovered that by hammering and tuning the tops of metal drums, they could produce different notes. Over time, these pans became capable of full melodies and harmonies. Today, steel bands and orchestras perform across the islands and around the world, and the steelpan has become a global symbol of Trinidadian innovation. Schools teach it, competitions are held every year, and it remains a major part of Carnival celebrations. The sound of the steelpan is not just music, it's a reminder of how creativity can turn hardship into culture. Fact number 4, Carnival, the greatest show in the Caribbean. Every year before Lent, Trinidad and Tobago hosts one of the most famous festivals in the world, Carnival. The event started hundreds of years ago during colonial times and was influenced by both European masquerade traditions and African celebrations of freedom. What began as small street parades eventually became a national event that attracts visitors from every corner of the globe. For weeks leading up to Carnival, the country fills with parties, calypso and soca competitions, and costume making. On the main days, the streets of Port of Spain turn into a sea of music, color, and movement. But Carnival is not only about celebration. It's also a reflection of history, a reminder of how people once used creativity to resist control and express identity. Today, it's one of Trinidad and Tobago's biggest exports, copied and celebrated in other countries, but the original spirit still belongs to the people here. Carnival is about freedom, art, and the energy that defines the islands. Fact number 5, the home of calypso and soca music. Trinidad and Tobago's contribution to music goes far beyond the steelpan. It's also the birthplace of calypso and soca, two genres that shaped the sound of the Caribbean. Calypso began as storytelling music, used by enslaved Africans to comment on daily life, politics, and society. It carried humor, criticism, and wisdom in equal measure. Then came soca, a faster, more dance-driven evolution of calypso, created in the 1970s. It brought together African rhythms and Indian instruments, reflecting the country's mixed population. Songs from artists like Mighty Sparrow, Lord Kitchener, and Mac Montano have traveled far beyond the islands. Even in places that have never heard of Port of Spain, people know the sound of Trinidad through its music. The rhythms of calypso and soca continue to define not only Carnival but also the entire identity of Trinidad and Tobago. Fact number 6, the most industrialized country in the Caribbean. Unlike most of its neighbors, Trinidad and Tobago's economy doesn't rely mainly on tourism. The country has built one of the strongest industrial bases in the Caribbean. Oil was discovered as early as 1857, and natural gas later became its main source of income. Energy exports, manufacturing, and petrochemicals drive the economy, giving Trinidad a higher income level than most other Caribbean islands. The capital, Port of Spain, is home to modern buildings, banks, and a growing business district. Tobago, meanwhile, relies more on tourism but benefits from Trinidad's strong economy. This industrial success has helped the country maintain steady development, build infrastructure, and invest in education. Yet, it's still an island nation where culture, music, and community life remain at the heart of everything. Fact number 7, the Pitch Lake, the largest natural asphalt deposit on Earth. In the small town of La Brea lies one of the world's most unusual natural features, the Pitch Lake. It covers about 100 acres and holds millions of tons of asphalt. The surface looks solid, but it's actually soft and slowly moves, swallowing anything that sits too long on it. The asphalt from the lake has been used to pave roads across the world, including parts of London and New York. Scientists say it's constantly replenished from deep underground, making it an endless source of natural tar. The lake has been around for thousands of years, and it remains one of Trinidad's most visited attractions. Local legends say it was formed as a curse from the gods, but to geologists, it's simply a rare natural wonder. The Pitch Lake shows how Trinidad's land itself holds valuable and fascinating resources. Fact number 8, wildlife and nature. Trinidad and Tobago are known for their rich biodiversity. Even though the country is small, it has more bird species than most much larger nations. Because Trinidad is close to Venezuela, it shares many South American animals and plants. The islands have rainforests, swamps, and coral reefs, each supporting unique life. The Coroni Swamp, for example, is home to the scarlet ibis, a red-colored bird that's also one of the national symbols. Tobago's main Ridge Forest Reserve is the oldest legally protected forest in the Western Hemisphere, set aside for conservation in 1776. Visitors can hike, birdwatch, or simply experience how green and alive these islands are. For locals, nature is not just for tourism, it's part of daily life, from fishing and farming to family outings. Fact number 9, the Nylon Pool in Tobago. One of Tobago's most beautiful natural sights is the Nylon Pool, a shallow area of crystal clear water in the middle of the sea. It was formed by a sandbar surrounded by coral reef, and the water is only waist deep even far from shore. Locals say a swim there can make you feel younger, and while that's probably just legend, the place really does feel special. Boats bring visitors every day to stand, swim, and take photos in the turquoise water. The pool got its name in the 1960s when Princess Margaret visited and said the water was as clear as nylon. It's become one of the country's most famous attractions, showing the calm and natural beauty Tobago is known for. Fact number 10, a country of firsts and independence. Trinidad and Tobago became independent from Britain on August 31, 1962, and the event is celebrated every year with pride. Since then, the country has achieved several regional firsts. It had one of the first female prime ministers in the Caribbean, Kamla Persad-Bicessa. It also produced some of the earliest local newspapers and one of the strongest education systems in the region. Independence didn't just mean a flag and a date, it meant the chance to shape their own future. The people took that seriously, building institutions, growing industries, and creating a voice that still stands out in Caribbean politics. Fact number 11. Education in Trinidad and Tobago is one of the strongest in the Caribbean. The country offers free primary and secondary education for all citizens, and even tertiary education is heavily supported by government programs. Many students go on to study at the University of the West Indies, one of the region's most respected institutions. English is the main language of instruction, which gives graduates an advantage when working internationally. Over the years, the government has invested in technology and digital literacy, aiming to make education accessible even in remote areas. School attendance rates are high, and the literacy level stands among the best in Latin America and the Caribbean. Beyond formal education, Trinidad and Tobago's culture values knowledge, from music and arts programs to community workshops that keep traditional skills alive. You'll find locals who can quote world history as easily as they discuss local folklore. This love for learning helps explain the nation's resilience and adaptability. It also contributes to a well-informed youth population that participates actively in social debates. Education isn't just about getting a job here, it's about shaping identity and future leadership. That's why many Caribbean neighbors look to Trinidad and Tobago as a model for developing educational systems that blend modern skills with cultural preservation. Fact number 12. When it comes to religion, Trinidad and Tobago is one of the most religiously diverse nations on Earth. Christianity, Hinduism, and Islam all coexist side by side, along with smaller communities of Buddhists, Jews, and Rastafarians. The country celebrates Christian holidays like Christmas and Easter, but also Hindu festivals such as Diwali, and Muslim observances like Eid. Diwali, the festival of lights, turns entire neighborhoods into breathtaking scenes as thousands of clay lamps glow through the night. Mosques, churches, and temples often stand within walking distance of each other, and people commonly attend weddings and funerals across faiths out of respect. This level of coexistence didn't happen by accident, it grew from centuries of shared experience, trade, and migration. The people of Trinidad and Tobago understand that religion is deeply personal, and instead of letting it divide them, they've built unity through diversity. Even in politics, you'll see leaders from different faiths working together without conflict over belief. It's a living lesson in tolerance that many larger nations could learn from. Fact number 13. Steelpan music, the sound of Trinidad and Tobago, was born right here. It's the only acoustic musical instrument invented in the 20th century. Made from oil drums, it began in the poorer neighborhoods of Port of Spain when people used everyday objects to create rhythm. Over time, that rhythm evolved into something entirely new, something that now represents Caribbean identity around the world. Today, steelpan orchestras can be found everywhere, from schools to major international festivals. Each instrument is tuned to produce a full range of notes, making it capable of performing anything from classical music to pop. The annual Panorama competition is a national event where bands compete to show off their musical mastery. What's remarkable is how this invention came from struggle, from people who weren't allowed to use traditional drums during colonial times. They turned restriction into creativity, and their innovation became national pride. The steelpan is now taught in universities globally, and it continues to remind Trinidadians and Tobagonians that beauty can emerge even from limitation. Fact number 14. Food in Trinidad and Tobago is an explosion. The islands are home to tropical rainforests, mangroves, coral reefs, and even swamps filled with exotic birds. The Coroni Bird Sanctuary in Trinidad is one of the country's most famous nature reserves, known for its spectacular scarlet ibis, the national bird. Tobago, smaller and calmer, has one of the oldest protected rainforests in the Western Hemisphere, dating back to the 18th century. These protected areas support ecotourism, attracting nature lovers from around the world. Bird watching, hiking, and snorkeling are popular activities, but even locals spend weekends exploring their own natural spaces. The government and several NGOs have worked to balance tourism with conservation, ensuring future generations can enjoy these wonders. Climate change poses challenges, but awareness among citizens is high. Nature is not taken for granted here, it's part of everyday life, woven into the island's rhythm. Fact number 16. Trinidad and Tobago's oil and gas industry forms the backbone of its economy. The country is one of the leading producers of natural gas in the Caribbean and has one of the highest GDPs per capita in the region. For decades, its energy exports have powered national development, helping to fund education, healthcare, and infrastructure. But what's impressive is how the country is slowly diversifying away from full dependence on energy. There's growing investment in technology, manufacturing, and tourism. The government and private sector are both looking toward renewable energy sources to prepare for the future. This shows foresight, a recognition that oil wealth won't last forever, but innovation will. The people of Trinidad and Tobago are resourceful, and that mindset continues to guide their progress toward a more sustainable economy. Fact number 17. Sport is a big part of life here, and Trinidad and Tobago has produced some world-class athletes. Cricket, once went untold. The Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival, launched in 2006, has become one of the region's most respected cultural events. It promotes both local talent and regional collaborations. Music videos, documentaries, and independent films are thriving thanks to digital technology and young creators who want to represent their culture authentically. Radio and TV stations also play a big role in maintaining local identity, mixing global content with local news and entertainment. The creative sector is becoming an important economic contributor and a voice of self-expression for the youth. It's changing how outsiders see the Caribbean, not just as a place of beaches, but as a place of creativity and intellect. Fact number 19. Trinidad and Tobago's architecture tells the story of its past. From old colonial houses in Port of Spain to modern skyscrapers, the mix reflects centuries of cultural layering. Traditional wooden gingerbread houses, with their carved designs and bright colors, are especially beloved. Many have been restored to preserve their charm. In Tobago, you'll find historical forts overlooking the sea, reminders of when European powers fought for control of the island. Today, new developments mix old and new styles, showing how the country honors its past while embracing modernity. The skyline may change, but the soul of the buildings remains tied to history and resilience. Walking through the capital feels like walking through time. Each building has a story of migration, survival, and evolution. Fact number 20. Public celebrations define the rhythm of life here. Beyond Carnival, there are countless other events: Emancipation Day, Diwali Naga, Tobago Heritage Festival, and Independence Day among others. Each one brings people from all backgrounds together. Emancipation Day, in particular, holds deep meaning, celebrating the abolition of slavery and honoring African ancestors. During Diwali, homes and streets glow with light and music fills the air. At the Tobago Heritage Festival, people dress in traditional attire and reenact historical scenes from village life. These festivals are not staged for tourists, they are part of the country's cultural DNA. Even outside the big events, weekends often feel festive, with live music, food, and gatherings. It's a nation that never loses its sense of joy, no matter what challenges it faces. Fact number 21. Trinidad and Tobago's biggest treasure is its people. Warm, open, and deeply proud of their culture, they represent everything the Caribbean stands for: resilience, friendliness, and creativity. Despite economic ups and downs, political changes, and global pressures, the people maintain a positive spirit that keeps the nation moving forward. Family ties are strong, and respect for elders remains central. The country's small size means everyone is somehow connected through school, community, or shared experience. It's this sense of togetherness that defines life here. Visitors often say that it's not just the beaches or the food that make them love Trinidad and Tobago, it's the people who smile, talk, and welcome them like family. In a world that often feels divided, Trinidad and Tobago reminds us what unity, respect, and humanity can look like when lived every day.